The Liberals were flying high with pre-campaign spending announcements and surprise campaign-style visits all across the country this summer. How much campaigning did the Liberals do on your time and your money? Today, I can tell you some of the details, including Trudeau's expenses. Today's tale of Liberals treating themselves to your money to run their election campaign comes by way of an order paper question. Alberta Conservative MP Kelly McCauley asked, with regard to ministerial travel between June 21st, 2019 and September 11th, 2019, how much money was spent by each minister and their accompanying staff per trip on accommodations, on flights, including number of flights, car rentals, including number of cars, fuel claims, meals, incidentals, how many staff members were on each trip, broken down by ministerial staff and departmental staff, and what was the destination and purpose of each trip? Now, this is a really good question. I see what McCauley is doing here. The time frame he's asking about is roughly the 90 days in the lead up to the federal election, meaning these flights and travel expenses are basically shameless campaigning on the government, or rather the taxpayers' dime, but there isn't very much the public can do about it. Let's start with Trudeau's pre-campaign flights on page 7 and 8. The Privy Council office, because a fish rots from the head down. Trudeau has 2 pages of flight records for that time frame, including 8 flights to Toronto to deliver remarks at a Canadian Muslim vote event, for his participation in the Toronto Pride Parade, and for a flight to Quebec for their National Day celebrations. There are some 10 flights to Edmonton, Calgary, and Vancouver to, quote, meet with workers and their families, yeah, right, and 16 flights to Vancouver to meet with the Coast Guard. Seems legit. By my count, there are 123 flights for Trudeau's office, costing over $100,000 in the less than 3 calendar months leading up to the election call, plus another $44,000 in car rentals, $140,000 in hotel bills, and $56,000 in meals in just 3 months. Page 19, Agriculture Canada has 40 flights in less than 3 months, including 21 described as just Western outreach, whatever that means. I don't know, but I'm pretty sure Western voters weren't feeling very outreached when they wiped the Liberals off the map in the West in the election in October. Page 56, we can see that Finance has another 60 flights in less than 3 months. Many of the flights are listed as just meetings with no details about who is being met with or why. On page 107, we can see that defeated Liberal MP Ralph Goodale has nearly 50 flights at public safety, including the very vague meetings excuse that Finance was using. On page 108, the Gangs, Guns and Borders Minister Bill Blair racked up 40 flights in 3 months, none of which were to the West to face Western gun owners, the people he's blaming for Toronto's illegal handgun problem, nor did any of his travels take him to Roxham Road to see what could be done to deal with the sheer volume of illegal migrants crossing the border into Canada at that one lone location. However, 12 of his flights were to Fredericton for, quote, stakeholder meetings. On page 126, we see Miriam Monsef at the ultra-useless Ministry of Women and Gender Equality, and we can also see that she was doing her best to keep up with her high-flying male colleagues with 50 flights in 3 months, including 13 flights to Vancouver for, quote, capacity building, whatever that is. And many of the departments didn't even bother to give the requested number of flights, or they just say, look up the proactive disclosure website whenever those flights get posted, which is exactly what the carbon taxers at Environment and Climate Change Canada said on page 53. Catherine McKenna's former office refuses to provide the info, saying there's not enough time to do it. So McKenna had so many flights that the Government of Canada couldn't even count them all in 30 days. On page 66, Global Affairs, led by the alleged bike-riding limo aficionado, Chrystia Freeland, said the exact same thing. There are just too many flights to tally up in the 30-day time frame of an order paper question. And I believe it. I've gone through Freeland's flight records in the past, and that's how I discovered she sends an empty limo from Ottawa ahead of her plane to pick her up and drive her around when she lands. So it would seem there are hundreds of flights by this Liberal cabinet in the final 3 months leading up to the election campaign. A campaign gift from Canadian taxpayers to the Liberal Party of Canada. I guess there's no such thing as a climate emergency if it means Liberals can't use your tax dollars to help themselves win elections. For Rebel News, I'm Sheila Gunn-Reid. If you like this video and our style of holding the government to account, be sure to like this video and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And why not head over to our brand spanking new website, rebelnews.com, and become a subscriber to Rebel News Plus. That's what we call our long-form TV-style shows. You can subscribe at rebelnews.com/subscribe.